Good evening to all you Broncos country folks out there and Broncos fans waiting for what we hope is going to be the definitive Broncos preview being on Saturday night before the big game. Last week, we were fairly accurate. We hit a lot of stuff, a lot of key matchups, a lot of key players, and we're hoping to do that again tonight when we go through our keys for the game, key matchups, players to watch, and stats predictions. So go back and watch that. See if you know what you think about how accurate we are, and then we'll see again today or tomorrow if we hit the nail on the head again. I'm Thomas Hall. My co-host Ron White is here tonight. We are going to dive into a lot of things that you would expect from a pre-game show. We're going to dig in deep like we always do. But first, Ron, say hello to everybody.
Hello, Broncos country. Thank you for tuning in with us on this lovely Saturday, and welcome to week 2. Hopefully, we will get a Broncos victory this week, but let's see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't know what to expect anymore, right? You get your hopes up, and then they lose to the Raiders. So it's one of those things that it's a bummer, right? But, we got some folks in here that are jumping in. Hopefully we can get this show in and you guys can all go and watch the CU game versus CSU and all of that. But we'll get it in hopefully in the hour, and you guys have plenty of time to go watch that game. But I'm going to say hi to our guy, Kevin Gray, who's here all the time. Thank you so much, Kevin, for coming and watching our show, saying, "Evening, Thomas and Ron, big Mile High salute to Broncos country, Denver Broncos for life, Mile High Huddle for life." And we've got David Youngkin, who's also in often on this show. And thank you for all the support and the comments you give. David says it's really hard to say go Broncos after all the losing. And that's right. I mean, I've talked about it. I wrote an article, about the losing mentality, did a podcast about it. I talked all about it. And it is true. It's hard to break the losing mentality. So hopefully, and it doesn't come from just winning a game or saying, oh, we got to have a winning season. It's doing the little things. And there's little things that were missing last week that we hope to see get corrected this week, because that's going to lead to a win.
Yes, definitely. We'll get into that more, David. But, I'm right there with you. It's, this behavior of we have to learn how to not lose. And that's Thomas right. And I were just talking about this before we went live, a game that was easily there for the taking. The Broncos made careless mistakes and kind of gave the game away. So little details. Hopefully Peyton can, look at the film, make some corrections, and hopefully this team will be better moving forward. But yeah, it's hard to say go Broncos and cheering for your team when it's just been, losing after losing. So
yeah. Saying hello to C. Chang. Welcome. Thank you for coming in. Saying, let's get a win. Go Broncos. So Thank you very much for coming in tonight. Appreciate you being here on a Saturday. We got Riptide coming in saying must win because week 3 is not getting any easier. Yeah, the first 2 games of this season needed to be wins because you're right. It doesn't get any easier. And unfortunately, they're going to have to pick up a game that maybe we didn't expect them to pick up if they're going to hit their hit their goal, which I think their goal is to go to the playoffs. It really is. So thanks for being here, Riptide. I really appreciate it. And before I jump into some of these other folks, I just want to remind everybody, right, that the Green Bay game, we are all going to be out there at a Mile High Huddle meet and greet. Yeah. Come out, see your favorite podcaster, all the podcasters. Maybe it doesn't matter if you have a favorite or not. Come out, visit with us. Week 7, Green Bay Packers. Look for the big Mile High Huddle tent out there. I'm not sure where we're going to be. I think it's been the same place the last couple of times, but we'll get more information out there. But just be sure to come check us out, say hi. We'll be probably podcasting like we usually do. Get some fans on there to say hi to everybody else. So it's always fun, and it's great to meet everybody. So don't forget about that, and we'll keep reminding everybody because that's going to be fun.
Yes, again, looking forward to seeing. Whoever can show up, looking forward to seeing all you guys in that matchup against Green Bay. Come up to that blue tent, shake our hands. Let's talk football. We'll probably get some predictions, things like that. So it's gonna be a fun time.
That's right. And I'm going to welcome William Catalano in saying I'm going Broncos 20-19. William, thank you for being here. I'm gonna say it right now, Ron. I know the Commanders, they seem like it should be a win on paper. They're no joke, man. They've got a really, really good defense.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's gonna be as easy as people. I hope it's easy. I want to go to bed, going, yes, they clobbered them, but I don't think it's gonna be as easy as people think. So
Yeah, and
Seth,
Thomas, one
oh, go
thing
ahead.
before, thank you, William, for coming in with your support and your prediction. And you're right, Thomas. This Commanders team is better than people think.
That's right.
I know Sam Howell kind of now being deemed the starter is one thing, and he seems to kind of has picked up the offense quite a bit, even leading back up to last year, and then now they get Chase Young back
Yeah.
on that defensive front. So I think it's going to be on a snap count, but on that defensive front, it's going to be stout. So the Broncos definitely have their hands full. But again,
Sure
hopefully
do.
they can do the little things correctly to get this win. But we'll definitely see tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll find out. We're going to be all watching it, eyes glued to the TV for sure. So
Yeah.
Seth's coming in saying, "What's up, Thomas Ron and Deacon Scott again? We are here by ourselves. Saturday's hard to come in every Saturday evening, but we'll try and make sure we keep up on all of the chats and whatnot. I got Facebook open. Hopefully I can keep up with it. Saying hi to Jasmine. Hey, Ron and Thomas. Thank you very much for being here, Jasmine. And there's a Facebook user came in. I don't know who it is, saying, evening, guys, smash the like button and share. That is great advice. Thank you. I don't know who it is, but thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
So Ron, let's chat a little bit. We have our format for this pregame show, right? We talk about the keys to the game. We talk about matchups that we are looking at. We talk about players that really should be impactful. And then we, kind of end the show doing our predictions with stats and things like that, wrapping it all up. So, what is your first key to this game? What do you want to talk about first and foremost?
The first key to this game, key to victory, and I think I alluded to this last week, but it definitely needs to happen this week, is pressure up front, Thomas. Pressure on Sam Howell. Last week, there was no pass rush at all. Last week, Jimmy G was just out there in the pocket, unscathed.
Yep.
And, the Broncos have to step up on the edge. The edge players are going to have to step up. I know Frank Clark is out now, but Gregory, Bonito, Cooper, they must play better. And not only with them, Vance Joseph has to come up and design better pressure schemes and pressure packages to confuse and get to Sam Howell.
Yep.
So I think, with that, and then hopefully the improved play of those edge players, they can generate enough pressure on Sam Howell to rattle him a little bit and to confuse him. But yeah, that was very concerning that there was a lack of pass rush on the field last week.
Yeah, and I wrote about this. This is one of my keys, and I this is a player to watch for me, and one of the keys of this game. I did an analytical study based on over 64,000 drives over a 10-year period in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
A drive offense has a 34% chance of scoring on any drive, basically. When there's a sack that happens at any time during that drive, it doesn't matter if it's third down, first down, wherever, that drops to 4%. If the Broncos cannot get to Sam Howell and get a sack, they're going to march down the field methodically, just like the Raiders did. So they have to get pressure. It is paramount. And frankly, the guy that I think has to step up is Randy Gregory. Mm-hmm. He has to go up against Andrew Wiley and beat his man. He didn't. He was absent. I didn't see really much of anything from Randy Gregory last week, and they paid him the big bucks to come in. They got rid of their future Hall of Famer and Von Miller, fan favorite MVP of Super Bowl 50, and they brought in Randy Gregory, and he has been a flop. I'm sorry. He hasn't been on the field enough. It was a bad signing when it happened. He needs to earn his keep, and it has to start this week. It has to. They have to get in to the backfield and bring Sam Howell down. That's what Arizona was able to get to him regularly. If they can't do it, it's going to be a long game. They have to get some pressure on. And say hello to David McGilrath coming in with a super chat. Thank you so much for your contribution to the show. Really appreciate it, David. Saying good evening, Broncos country. Thomas, Ron, Dylan, and Deacon Scott. 12-5. He's still going with 12-5 even after the first week. Yeah, it's good. We gotta stay positive. And he's saying Buckham ×3, Mile High Huddle for life, Denver Broncos for life. Thank you, David. Really appreciate it. I'm glad that you had some positivity. I'll tell you, my positivity has gone downhill. It's tough to sit here. This is the 7th season where they came out, didn't look very good. And, for fans, it seems like more of the same. Although there were a heck of a lot more positive things that I saw in this loss last week than we saw in the first loss in Seattle last year. So there is some things to look forward to. Russell Wilson looks better. Things look a little bit better, but it was still a loss, and here we are. So, man, I don't know. I really need to see a win this week. I have to. If they lose another one at home, it's going to be a long season. I mean, going 0-2 is usually pretty tough to bounce back and do anything that you want to do playoff wise.
Yes, definitely, Thomas. And thank you, David McGilrath, for coming in with your generosity. We appreciate you. And so, yeah, sticking with 12-5, that's good. Again, we're just going to have to see, to your point, Thomas, these wins out on the field. They have to win this game. I mean, coming out of an 0-2 hold, it's going to be tough.
Yep.
And again, this is an opponent that they can beat. They just have to do the small things correctly. As I go back to saying, doing the small things correctly to get the win. That's what's going to set you up for success. But again, only time will tell.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, David. Again, David. I'm going to jump into my next key, if you don't mind, Ron. I kind of talked about the pass rush. That's a key. Everybody knows that key, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that they got to get after him. This whole week, you've got media, you got fans talking about how the Broncos didn't challenge the Raiders deep, right? They, and what I'm going to say right now is the coaches cannot have a knee-jerk reaction. I don't think they will. Sean Payton seems like he's confident in his ability. They cannot force the deep pass. They just can't go out and do it. They need to be very tactical in when they throw deep, and they need to be able to set it up. Right? They can't go out there and just throw deep for the sake of throwing deep. Here's why. 38.2% completion rate against the Commanders at the end of last year when quarterbacks tried to threaten them deep. That is less than the NFL average. So that means that the Commanders have a pretty solid defense, and 1 out of every 17 passes ended up in an interception. So you can't force it. You have to set it up. You have to go out there and be very tactful, very mindful of when you're going to go deep with that deep pass. You've got to establish the run, which is another key that I have a specific area of where to establish that run, and also use that short passing game in order to pick your points of when you need to go deep. If this was Vance Joseph head coaching, I would be afraid that it was a knee-jerk reaction. They're going to just try and go deep just because the media is hounding them about it, right? I don't think they're going to. I think Sean Payton's going to be methodical, but they do need to do it. I think they need to, take a couple shots down the field, but be very, very precise and tactful when they do it. I think you, Ron, I think you got frozen there. I can't hear you. You're up there. You're back. I think you're back. I can't hear you, though, so check your mute. I'm going to grab Phil McLaughlin here, coming in with Facebook stars. I'm going to read his comment, and then we'll get back to that key, whatever answer you have there, Ron. Phil's coming in saying, good evening, Thomas and Ron. So I better see Mathis have a comeback game, and I want to see McLaughlin catch and run. Buckham, Mile High Huddle for life. You're exactly right. We called it out on this show. Last week, we said Damari Mathis versus Jacoby Myers was a key to the game. He had to step up, and he didn't do it. He was awful. And that is a huge reason why the Broncos lost that game, because Mathis could not handle his assignment. And unfortunately, he was lined up against Devontae Adams as well a few times, and he got burned. So Mathis has to have a bounce-back game For sure. I also think McLaughlin, I want to see a little bit from him. I don't think he needs to be the focal point, but he needs to come in and contribute. He came in with a couple plays last week, wasn't very effective, but they need to get him in space. They need to open up the offense so that they can get him in space so he can use his abilities, maximize his abilities, really.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Phil, for coming in. And I'm glad you brought up Mathis because on myhighhuddle.com, I have an article up about Damari Mathis. So please check it out. It's regarding, his performance on Sunday, obviously, and two things that he can do better. Because, Jacoby Myers was just getting the best of him. Think about every snap. Jacoby Myers was eating his lunch. So, there are a few things, particularly in press coverage, that I've noticed that he can work on. And how he turned his body with hip control, not playing as much off coverage as well. So yeah, please go ahead and read that article. But that's actually one of my key players to watch because again, I want to see the bounce back. I want to see how Damari Mathis does improve, especially going up against, again, we know one side of the field is going to be locked down with Patrick Surtain. So McLaurin and Patrick Surtain, that's the battle. Yep. But then Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel, they're capable receivers as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how Damari Mathis handles, his coverage and that ability against one and or both of them. And yeah, to your point on McLaughlin, yeah, I want to see more McLaughlin. I mean, he was the story of the offseason. He shined. I know, Thomas, you were there in training camp in those preseason games. So I want to see, that quick twitch. I want to see that speed. I want to see him just kind of running through the tackles, a catch and run, right? So having him kind of lined up all over the field are some of the things I'm looking forward to seeing as well. But yeah, Phil, I'm right there with you.
And I don't want to force McLaughlin, right? The Commanders have a solid athletic defensive line and linebackers, right? So I'm going to jump. Sorry, Ron, I'm going to jump into my last keys. We're kind of building into the running game here, and then I'll give you the floor to get on your keys. But I think the Broncos need to run right at Daron Payne and Montez Sweat, right behind Garrett Bowles and Ben Powers. And they have to do it with quick hitting run plays. They can't have these delay, like slow developing run plays because the backside athletic people like Jonathan Allen and now Chase Young, their linebackers are athletic. They will be able to sniff that out, stuff it pretty quickly from the backside. They need to run right at those two players. Now, Daron Payne's a solid guy, but Ben Powers needs to earn his money, right? He got called in. This is what he does. He needs to move him. Montez Sweat, not as a good of a run stopper as he's a pass rusher in my mind. I think they can go right at them with quick hitting plays, establish that run, right? Establish the run a little bit. They don't have to be great. They don't have to be, churn out huge yardage, but they need to get a semblance of a run game going early so that they can keep those safeties honest, really. So that's my next key.
Yeah, that's a good one. To counteract that defensive front, yeah, you just have to run right at them. And we have the horses to do it. With Pookie, I can definitely see that happening. So yeah, just kind of running the ball right at this pass rush to kind of ease the pass rush. Obviously, with running the ball, that increases the time of possession. So that would be definitely a good strategy and a key to victory. Yep.
Yeah, we got Osvaldo Espinosa coming in, jumping in on Riley Moss. Says, do you guys think Riley Moss makes an immediate impact? Do you sit Mathis if he flips? And that's a good question because we are going to get into injuries, but I'll address Moss now. He's a full go. It's the first time that he's been fully healthy, really, that we get to see meaningful football from him. I don't know how much he's going to play, though. It's hard to say. They love him, though. The Broncos coaches love Riley Moss. He's probably going to get some special teams play if he's active. They're going to have to do something. If Mathis can't step up to the to the plate, and shut down his guy, then they'll have to do something. But there's not just Riley Moss. You've got McMillan in there to do it. You got the Fabian Monroe is a vet that could step in. So they have some options. I don't know if it will be Riley Moss or not. It seems like a bit of a rush to throw him in as kind of the next person up if Mathis falters, but I don't know. They like him though, so I'm not sure. But he is fully healthy. He passed the he said that last injured report says he's full go. So we'll hopefully see him. We'll hopefully get some eyes on how he can perform.
Yes, Osvaldo, and I think I agree with everything Thomas just said. I think Riley Moss to start off probably be on special teams. Yeah, but if Mathis continues to struggle throughout the season, there has to be a change. And he'd be the next one up. And of course, we did have the other options. McMillan did have some good plays in the preseason as well, so that's an option. But yeah, I don't think an immediate impact if he does play, but because I think Mathis will come around, because in the article I wrote, I referenced last year as well how Damari Mathis struggled early last year, especially in that I think it was that week 4 matchup against the Chargers, and he did bounce back. So I'm expecting a bounce back from Damari Mathis. But yeah, if that doesn't happen, I can maybe see Moss coming in to help, but only time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, and I think Mathis had a much better camp than what he showed in that first week. And I don't know what happened, why he kind of fell down, didn't produce how people thought he was going to produce. He's a better player than what he showed. So I'm hoping that he bounces back. Yep. Give a shout out to Dominique Martin coming in saying, "Hey, Tom and Ron, Orange and Blue rocks." Thank you so much. Really appreciate the compliment. We are going to be bringing you this pregame show every week, every Saturday when there's a Sunday game. So hopefully this week our matchups are just as accurate as they were last time. So we'll keep this thing rolling. Said, "Mile high salute to my Broncos family. Winning tomorrow is imperative. Mile high huddle for life." Absolutely.
Yes.
It is imperative because you don't want to jump into that 0-2 hole for sure. Peter Middleton's coming in saying, "Good morning from Singapore." Well, thank you for coming in and watching us. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we got RD coming in with a super chat. Thank you so much for the support and the comment. Really appreciate it. It says, "Hal hasn't been quick to get rid of the ball. Gregory should have a big game. If he keeps playing like last week, another contract mistake," he asks. Absolutely. It's going to be huge. If obviously the weak link of that Redskin, I meant Commanders. They changed their name, so now I can't remember what it is. That weak link is Andrew Wiley. It showed up big time last week when they played the Cardinals. He was getting beat like a rug. So Gregory had better have a big game. He has to, or you're right, RD. If he can't come up big in this game against Wiley, yeah, it's a huge contract mistake. What do you think, Ron?
No, I'm right there with you, Thomas. And you're right that that tackle play last week against the Cardinals with Wiley, that was bad. So I would expect, we knock on wood here, that Gregory does bounce back. I wouldn't say bounce back, but definitely just kind of be the player that we know he is, be that impact player that he can be. So he should definitely have a big game. But yeah, if he doesn't, I mean, it's definitely a contract mistake, because you got to look at it from a few different angles already. He hasn't been available a lot. And then when he is available, what has he produced? So, if those things don't, come to fruition, we can definitely see a contract mistake. But we're going to be optimistic and say that Gregory does produce and have a good game.
Yeah, and he's one of my guys that I'm going to predict some stats for. So hopefully, hopefully it will make people happy. I don't know. We'll see. I think it will. But yeah, he's one of my predictions. I'm just going to give a shout out here to Tim Watkins. Thank you for being in the chat. Tim, appreciate you being here, and hopefully you can throw a comment in there that we can read and talk about. So thank you for being here. Appreciate it. You want to jump into your next cue, Ron? Do you have another one?
Yeah, so I can jump into. I want to highlight, a few different. I did mention the Mike McGlinchey, Chase Young. I alluded to that. But I'm also, one of my key matchups is Fuller and or Forbes, so the cornerbacks, versus Jerry Jeudy. Now, as you guys know, Jerry Jeudy will be back in this lineup tomorrow. So that should get everyone excited. And I think the last I heard, there's no snap count limitations. He's full go. And so I'm expecting this offense to open up a little bit more now that Jerry Jeudy's back in the fold. So I would say that the matchup I'm looking for, I looked at some of the stats for Fuller and Forbes last week against the Cardinals. Fuller didn't have any pass breakups. I think Forbes had one. I think Forbes is the rookie. So I'm expecting Jerry Jeudy with that route running prowess to get his targets, get his yards, at the top of the route, in space, those yards after catch. And I just don't see, how the corners or how the secondary for the Commanders are going to adjust to that. So all in all, I'm expecting Jerry Jeudy to come back and have a very good game.
Good. Well, that's another full participant in practice on the injury report. So we're kind of sneaking in some of the injury reports. I'm going to just go ahead and do them all right now. So Dulcich was injured, went to IR. He's gone for 4 weeks. Frank Clark is out for a few weeks. He didn't go to short-term IR, so he's probably expected back in at least 3 weeks or less. Then you got Jeudy, DJ Jones, and Riley Moss were all on the injured report this week, and now they're full participants. So we're expecting them to be ready to go. No setbacks. No, Riley Moss could be a game day inactive. Maybe we'll see, but I expect DJ Jones, Jerry Jeudy to be out there for sure. Phil McLaughlin coming in with Facebook stars. Thank you, Phil, for that. Really appreciate it as always, and love you being here in the chat and throwing out the comments, especially predictions. He says, "Well, guys, my predictions: Russ is getting 200 plus yards passing, total points 38. Javonte gets over 50 yards rushing. Your thoughts?" We are going to get to that for sure, and I'm going to throw one out there now just because, right? We're going to get to our stats predictions, but I'm going to throw Javonte out there because you're talking about Javonte. Javonte Williams is going to have a fairly good game. Mm-hmm. Not going to be crazy high stats, but they're going to establish the run against a pretty tough defense. Javonte is going to go 15 carries, 75 yards this game. I don't think they're still going to platoon him with P. Ryan, so I don't think he's going to get a lot more carries than that, but he's going to be efficient and effective in that running game, running behind Ben Powers and Garrett Bowles for the most part. I think really going out there and getting that tough yardage, with that tough defensive line and athletic linebackers. That's my prediction for Javonte, Phil. So thank you for coming in with the support.
Yeah, that's a good one, Phil. I would say I would agree with most of those. Now that the total points, I'm not sure if 38 is going to happen tomorrow. I mean, I would love for the Broncos to score 38 points, but yeah, that seems reasonable. Javonte Williams with 50 yards, rushing, Russ with over 200. I think that's reasonable and should set them up for a win tomorrow. Yeah. So good prediction.
Yeah. We'll see. Give a shout out to Facebook user. I wish I knew who it was, but coming in saying, "Evening man, talk about a must win. We can't lose 2 at home to start the season. Go Broncos." Yeah, especially at home. I mean, this used to be almost always a win. I cannot stand that they can't take care of business at home anymore. It is agonizing. It's agonizing to the fans, and it needs to turn around. They have got to turn this ship around and start winning these games, especially winnable games at home. So thank you for coming in with that comment. Really appreciate it. All right. So my next matchup, right? The one matchup that's going to be key. And I love this guy, actually. He's one of my favorite players on the Broncos, Quinn Miners. I love his aggressive, love how he plays. He's still got some learning to do, still got some game to do, but he is going up against Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen is a great player. He's going to have his hands full. If he can win more battles than losing, if he can really kind of handle his business, that's going to be a key matchup. and they may have to give him some help or whatnot, but Miners is going to go toe to toe with arguably their best player, I think, on defense. Really, Jonathan Allen is a very good player. That's a key matchup, and he has to come through.
Yep. That's a good one. Yeah, he does. I mean, again, the whole offensive line, Thomas. They just have to. They all have to come through, especially against this defensive front. Part of me does think, that Miners will have a good game and can hold his own against Jonathan Allen. But, again, we remains to be seen. And again, with Chase Young being back in the rotation, that adds another, defensive big style presence. So that Broncos just going to have their hands full overall. But, if they can win a lot of those matchups, as you mentioned, right, running right at them, I think that can put them in position for success.
Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out to RD calling his shot, saying he or she, I don't know who it is, RD. I don't know your name, but it's great that you're here, and thank you for the support that you do give us. Thanks. He says, I think Mims will have the biggest game. Peyton said they need bigger plays. Yeah, it's, Mims, people are, Luke Patterson, my co-host on Wednesday, he wrote an article. Mims is a key. It's one of his keys to the game, and getting him going is important. The guy has speed. He has elusiveness. Getting some big plays from him would be incredible. So I hope so. I really do. I hope he has a big game, but I'm a little less optimistic. I think he's might get a play or two that's big, but I think there's still, it's a tough defense. So I don't know. I don't know how many big plays he's going to make. We'll see. But I hope so. I really do.
Yeah, Artie, they just need to use him more. I think if he gets more targets, I think that would help with some of the bigger plays, because he does have big play ability.
Yeah.
We saw that at Oklahoma, so he does have big play ability. Just, get him, running down the field and, getting those balls. He can probably do some 50-50 balls, use them on the screens, so kind of finding different innovative ways to use him, getting him a little bit more involved, kind of somewhat similar to like a KJ Hamler role, or what KJ Hamler was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think that would, pay dividends for this offense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You listen to Orange and Blue View pregame show for tomorrow, and this is Ron White, my co-host. I'm Thomas Hall. So make sure you tune in on Saturdays. We're going to keep this rolling all year long, all season long, I should say. We're going to have this pregame show. We're going to be talking about these things. Come in, check out, see if we are accurate in what we're talking about. Lawrence Vera coming in with some Facebook stars. Nice to see you, Lawrence, as always. Appreciate the support. With a question, do you guys think tickets were selling slow at first, so the owners upped the stakes and started giving rings out? I mean, it might work on me. Yeah, I saw that, giving the commemorative Super Bowl ring out. I don't know. I don't know if tickets were slow or not. It is possible. I just don't know. I mean, I haven't looked. I haven't been looking to see what the ticket prices were or anything like that. So I can't really give you any insight to that. But I will say it's a cool thing to do. It's a cool looking ring. The first, I think, 25,000 fans that come into the stadium get it. So I mean, that would be to me, that's a cool thing to do. But I don't know what the impetus was for it. So any insight, Ron, at all?
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. And I'm not sure either. It could possibly be the reason why they were giving out the rings, but yeah, I can't say for sure. The Broncos fans are still, I think, ticket sales are still good. There's still a lot of support, from fans. They're still going to games, although it could be a little bit slower than normal, but possibly. Yeah, but I'm not sure.
And we got young Tyrone coming in asking with Frank Clark out, do you start Drew Sanders at edge rusher? No, you don't. The starter's actually Jonathan Cooper. He leapfrogged Frank Clark in the depth chart. He played, I thought he played better through camp and preseason. So it's Jonathan Cooper and it's Randy Gregory as your starters. However, I wrote about it. People talked about it. Drew Sanders was absent from the defense when they needed a playmaker. Now, I didn't understand that. That really bothered me because you heard Sean Payton get up on that podium and say that Drew Sanders makes a play every practice that nobody else can make. So why, when they needed that impact play, was he nowhere to be seen on the defense? I get it. I get he's a rookie. He's going to make some rookie mistakes, but they lost anyway. So who cares? He should have been out there trying to make a play. And we saw it in that preseason game, a big interception, a run back. He fumbled it at the end, which was a mistake. But we saw his ability. Get him some packages out there, whether it means, him rushing from the inside, some sort of blitz, get him into coverage, do something. Have a package for Drew Sanders so he can come out there and make that play that they're talking about. I saw one, right? I saw one play that they're talking about in preseason. So if he's making one every game or every practice, then I think I expect to see a lot more from him, especially as he grows into that role. Your thoughts on Drew Sanders?
Well, yeah, I agree, Thomas. I mean, isn't that why the Denver Broncos drafted him?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you need to use him if that was your purpose. Like we saw in college how good he is in coverage. And there were a few times where the Broncos defense definitely needed that person out there to make a big play in coverage. So you drafted him for that reason. Why not put him out there? Like what could it have harmed? And you're right, that preseason play where, he did, I think he picked off and then he ran back and then they fumbled again. But, these are the plays and the traits that you see from him. And, this defense can use that, but yeah, Young, I wouldn't put him out there. Definitely not, outside, but have some pressure packages, including him, because I think we didn't see that on Sunday.
Nope.
So if you can have them in a lot of those pressure packages coming in and blitzing Howell at times, that'll be great. But they definitely need to use him more so that this defense can be better and be sound. Yep. So
it's going to get a shout out to Todd Ostorf coming in, saying hello to us. Thank you, Todd, for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming into the chat. We also got Dominic coming in late, saying good evening, Thomas, Ron, Scott, and Broncos country. Hope we get a win tomorrow in honor of our back-to-back Super Bowls. Absolutely. Thanks for being here, Dominic. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it would be great. It would be nice to see, that they had a bunch of players that were on that team at the headquarters. Also, Ring of Famers, saw a bunch of pictures with Carl Mecklenburg, Rod Smith, the usual suspects. So, it's nice to see that they're bringing them back into the fold, kind of honoring them. So I hope they get a win too, Dominic. Really appreciate that. So thanks for coming in and saying that.
Coming in.
All right. I'm gonna throw out another player to watch, Ron, and nobody's talking about him. Cortland Sutton.
Mm-hmm.
He's the player to watch. Judy, yes, I'm glad Judy's back. I think he can be a factor. Mims, the deep guy, can be a factor. The thing is, like I said early in the show, one of the keys is to go deep tactfully, right?
Yep.
Make sure that you're not going deep for the sake of going deep. That means you have to be able to open them up with a short passing game. I think if you put Sutton in the 50-50 ball situation, if he's on Fuller out there, he's got 5 inches on him, I think. He's a 50-50 ball guy. Go out there and let him go up and get it. Move those chains. Keep those third downs manageable. You don't have to go deep on every play, but give it to Sutton. Let him go get the ball against Fuller. If that's who they're going to put on him, and have him go up and get that ball. And, get 5, 6, 7 yards. That's what you need. You need to get those chunk plays so that now they're going to have, when they're doing that, they're going to have to start to move somebody over to help them. And that's going to open up those deeper plays. So feed Sutton as, many times as you can. And last week, Sutton was having a great game, and they completely ignored him. They just went away from him. They actually went away from the game plan, really. Yeah. They were mixing in great first down runs and passes. And then every time they went to run, it was non-scoring plays. And that was a mistake by Sean Payton. I think they need to go back to Sutton, feed him the ball, and let him go up there and get it. I think he can have a pretty solid game in that short kind of passing game.
Yeah, that's a good one, Thomas. Yeah, and as you mentioned, Sutton was involved early in the offense last week, and it's just like it's a head scratcher as to why they went away from him. So
Yep.
yeah, using him to move the chains, kind of just being that possession guy on third down, going up and getting the ball. That would be great. Because I think a lot of, again, with Judy coming back, I do think a lot of that focus will be on him, and that does and man coverage that does allow Sutton to go up and get it and move. So we'll
Absolutely.
see how they use him, but yeah, that's definitely a good player to watch.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if we're right again. Hopefully
Yeah.
we are. But Peter Milton's coming in with a bold prediction saying that little Jordan Humphrey scores the first TD again, establishes himself on the 53. Absolutely, that happened. That already happened. They elevated him to the 53-man roster this week right away. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to happen so soon. But it happened because of an injury. Once injury happens, they move him to IR, and that Caden Stearns was lost. They immediately moved little Jordan Humphrey into 53, but they also want another one. They promoted Dwayne Washington to the 53-man roster as well, running back. So they're bringing people up from the practice squad to the roster, and it's mostly due to injuries, right? Dulcich just got moved to injured reserve. He's going to be on there for at least 4 weeks with that hamstring injury. So they decided to put a running back on instead of bringing in a tight end from somewhere. And I know people are wondering, what are they going to do now that Dulcich is gone? Adam Troutman's a capable tight end. I know people have been down on him because he couldn't get yards after the catch. He needs to be a little bit more aware, a little bit more body control, obviously. But he plays. He was a solid player in camp and preseason, and I want to see what Nate Adkins can do as well. I was impressed with Nate Adkins. I think he deserved that spot on the 53-man roster from what he did. Undrafted rookie. I want to see what he does. I imagine he is going to be. He was a game day inactive last week. I imagine he's going to be active this week, and you'll see some plays for him.
Yeah, and thank you, Peter, for coming in. To that point, I know we're getting to stat projections here shortly, but Lil Jordan Humphrey was actually one of my stat projections. And I had him ending the day tomorrow with 4 receptions on 7 targets, 61 receiving yards, and scoring the first touchdown. So yeah, again, with Judy back in the fold, I just can't reiterate how excited I am to see Judy back in this offense, because I just feel it's going to open things up so much more. And you're right, Thomas, that another key player to watch for me on my list was Adam Troutman. Last week he caught all of his targets, 5 for 5, 34 yards. I want to see kind of how he builds upon that, now that Dulcich is out on IR. And I want to see that blocking skills as well, because we know he's pretty good on the blocking side. So yeah, look for him to maybe kind of step it up a little bit as well. When Sutton's not there, maybe Troutman kind of getting the ball and moving the chains. But yeah, looking forward to him too.
Yeah. We got Phil coming in. Thank you, Phil, with some more Facebook stars. So again, always appreciate the support. He's saying one thing not mentioned much, but golly, we have to stop critical penalties and get our special teams play better. You're absolutely right, Phil. It needs to be talked about more, because that is the same thing that we talked about early in the show. I talked about yesterday on Legends of Mile High. Little things are what get you wins. Doing the little things right. Stupid penalties. Knowing that you cannot lead with the crown of your helmet. Even though I cannot stand the fact that they throw a flag every time it's a big hit, no matter what. A big hit, they throw a flag. I don't like it, but that's the rules. You can't lead with your helmet, so don't do it. Don't make those critical penalties. And so you're right. Absolutely. The one thing that I was impressed, they didn't put the ball on the ground. That's something that has improved, but the penalties have to be cleaned up. Now, there wasn't a ton of like really bad penalties. I mean, those 2 unnecessary roughness or whatever they're calling it now, the hit on Jimmy G, and then the hit on Myers. Those are bang bang plays. I get it, but don't lead with your helmet. You know better. So you're right. They have to do that, and it would be nice to see our special team, the Broncos special teams, play better. I think Mims almost had one. He almost got loose. I think you're going to see him take one to the house this year. I mean, you're going to see it, but Yeah, you're right. You got to have better kicking. You got to have competent kicking. You got to, you have to play all three phases, Phil. So you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, not much to add, Thomas. I think you summed it up perfectly. And I would say with the costly and critical penalties, I mean, these are veterans we're talking about here, especially with Kareem Jackson. It's you should know better than to leave with the crown of your helmet. You know that's going to draw the flag. So again, it's the little things, it's the awareness, in critical moments and not losing the game. It's, again, learning things like that, of learning not to lose.
Yep.
Because again, those things can cost you games. So if they can clean that up, and I know Peyton this week did stress that after the game, I think the number of penalties was just a tick too high for him. And I agree, it was. Hopefully if you can emphasize cutting down on that, that should definitely help this team out. So,
but I will say one thing about the special teams. There were some special teams impact, though. So
yes.
that one punt that Dixon put down at the 5, that set up their score, right? Because they put them deep in their own territory. They made them have to work for that drive, and they were able to get the ball back and scored. So there are some positives, right? But they're, first game of the season, they need to work that out. But they focused on special teams. They brought 3 coaches in specifically for special teams. They drafted some players specifically for special teams, in my mind.
Yep.
And we need to see the benefits and the rewards of that emphasis. And I'm hoping that it happens, this week, right? This week 2, that better start happening, because if they're doing the special teams full pause and it costs them the game, they've invested a lot in it, and that investment isn't reaping rewards.
Yes.
All right. So Ron, did you have any key matchups or keys left? Do you want to go on to our stats predictions?
Yeah, we can move on to the stat predictions.
All right.
I just did the little Jordan Humphrey one. So that was my first. I did have Jerry Jeudy, of course, coming back in with 7 receptions on 10 targets, about 103 receiving yards, and a touchdown.
So you have Jerry Jeudy at 7 and 103 and a touchdown.
Yeah. Yes.
Nice. All right.
Yes.
Very nice.
Again, I think his impact is understated, at least in my opinion. It's understated. So he's going to come back and provide a boost to this offense. And then Samaje Perine, I have not getting in the end zone, but I did have him for 5 carries for about 40 yards rushing, 1 reception on 2 targets for 20 receiving yards. So again, I know Pookie's probably going to get most of the work as they put him back in the fold, but yeah, let's not forget about Perine as well with that 1-2 punch.
All right. I already said my Javonte prediction. I said he's going to go 15 for 75. Not a spectacular day, but solid, efficient, nice running, get that running game going and keeping the defense honest. I also think Gregory is actually going to come around and actually show folks why he's actually a starting edge rusher. He's going to have 2 sacks, and they're going to be important sacks in this game. He's going to have a little bit of a bounce back, and hopefully that those impact plays will really change the course of the game. So Randy Gregory going to beat Wiley. I think he's too good to be shut down by Andrew Wiley. He's just too good. So he better, because if he doesn't, man, it's going to be a long night.
Yes.
And then I have Sutton going for 5 catches for 95 yards. He's going to have one big one. Yards after the catch, but he's going to be impressive, not huge numbers, but impressive enough that the he's going to be able to move the chains and whatnot. So those are my 3 guys. I think it's not going to be a spectacularly, from a statistic standpoint on offense, it's not going to be spectacular. I think that they're going to have efficient games, but the Commanders' defense is pretty solid. So they're going to have to work for those yards. They're going to have to work for those first downs. And, I just think that it's going to be a slog. It's just going to be a slog. So we got Peter Middleton coming saying, I can see Jeudy not playing much due to the injury, just active. So the Commanders have to plan for him. I mean, it's a possibility, but the thing it is, Peter, is if they're full go, if they're not questionable, that means they're ready to play. And whether or not they give him a little bit of limit him a little bit, he's going to be out there on the field. He's going to be playing. He's going to see some targets. And maybe they'll rotate him a little bit more than they would normally. But what we saw with Javonte Williams, I thought they were going to limit him for a while, but he was out there carrying the ball week one. He was having a load that I expect from a starter, right? So hopefully Judy can make an impact, and he needs to be out there. He's one of their star receivers. He needs to be out there making an impact.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting perspective, Peter. But yeah, I do think he's full go. And Peyton, I know at offseason and his schemes, they heavily rely on kind of that separation, getting open, and that's what Judy does best. I mean, that's Broncos' number one receiver. So, if he doesn't have any injuries, if he's good to go, he's going to play. You'll definitely see him tomorrow.
And really, this is going to be, like I said, it's going to be a slog. The better defense is going to have to come up with an impact play and to turn the tide. Last week, we didn't see that. I mean, we definitely saw Kareem Jackson get that interception in the end zone, but there was nothing that they did other than that really gave their offense an advantage.
Right.
And if they're going to do the short passing, they're going to do the running. They're not going to have a lot of big play, going downfield a lot and quick scores. The Broncos defense is going to have a play that stops a drive or gets a turnover so that they can give their offense another chance. Six drives last week, the lowest total in years for the Broncos. Incredible. The offense was efficient, but the defense just didn't give them more chances. It was one of those games where it was just like, when you look back on it, you can't believe that was 6 drives. It was only 6 offensive drives, and the Raiders only had 6 really 7 as well, because they had that kneel down. So technically 7, but the defense has to come up pretty big. Tim Watkins is coming out with his prediction. Russell Wilson's going to have 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Well, I hope he doesn't have those 2 interceptions. I hope he has 4 touchdowns as a Broncos fan. But you're right. He may throw a pick because, like I said earlier, the Commanders they're not no joke. They've got a good defense.
Yeah, with the pressure. Yeah, the pressure can definitely get to Russ and force an interception. Again, we're hoping that doesn't happen. Hopefully it's a nice clean game from Wilson like it was last week. But yeah, that just emphasizes this defense for the Commanders is no joke.
And I want Russell Wilson to have a big game just because I'm tired of, the ESPN, they say his job's on the line. I mean, that's ridiculous. His job's not on the line. He actually played pretty well. If you're looking at the box score, you could say, oh, he didn't have a very big game, but he actually had a pretty efficient game. He just didn't have many chances. I want him to have the big game so we don't have to listen to them, saying this nonsense anymore. I mean, I'm getting tired of it, really.
I think, you're talking about, I think it was Speak for Yourself on FS1, I think his name.
I don't.
Yeah, but a lot of people.
They
just
do the homework. Is all I gotta say. If you're going to talk about somebody, do the homework. Don't
research.
Don't just say stuff to say it. Greg Smith's coming in with a great point, right? Asking, will we see more pressure from Zach Allen this week? Zach Allen was a game wrecker in practice. I'm not game wrecker, but he was wreaking havoc in camp. He was one of the stars of camp. Unbelievable. It was like constantly. In fact, we kept making comments that they're going to have to take Allen out just so they can run their offense for a while, right? It was that he was that good, but yet he hasn't really shown up much in preseason or the games. So I don't know if when that play is going to from camp is going to show up in games, but it needs to. And they have to get some inside pressure on them too. It can't just be up to the edge rusher. So I'm hoping to see more of Zach Allen. I'm hoping to see more of what I saw in camp, because if we see the Zach Allen we saw in camp against this Commanders team, he is going to wreak havoc on that offensive line and Sam Howell. He just will, and the running backs for that matter.
Yeah, Greg, this is a good point. That was actually one of my questions as well. Kind of left me stumped as to, again, the lack of pressure on the outside and inside and the interior. Like, where is Zach Allen? You brought him in for this reason. So again, I would hope with, Vance Joseph's scheme, some of these packages, we're able to see a lot of that inside pressure, which Zach Allen can present. But yeah, I mean, we're going to need him. And like you said, Thomas, as you mentioned, and I know I've been hearing other rumblings from camp, he was wrecking shop. So
Yep.
to have that on the field can definitely help this defense out as well.
Peter Middleton is calling his shot, saying it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it will as well. He's saying 2013 Broncos. So let's get into our game predictions, Ron. I know we did the Mile High Roundtable, but we've got to do our predictions on this show as well. So what is your game prediction?
So yes, my game prediction for tomorrow. I do expect, and I emphasize, that defensive front, with Allen, Sweat, Payne, again, Chase Young coming. The Broncos have to run right at him. So that running game is definitely going to be emphasized tomorrow with timely passes. So again, the help of Judy should open up that offense with passes down the field to Mims, to Sutton, to Judy, Troutman. Expect some of those, quick passes as well, catching out of the backfield from Pookie and Samaje Perine. So, based on that, it should set you up for success. But I call out in this roundtable, it's the defense that has to step up. Again, we did not see that last week. I do see the defense, bouncing back, forcing a few turnovers. And I do have the Broncos winning. So my pick is Broncos 24, Commanders 14.
All right. We got some more predictions. Phil came in with a prediction. Orange Bucky's coming in with Judy's going to dominate. Young Tyrone's coming in 31-20 Broncos. They can't afford to lose any more games. Yeah, the predictions are rolling in, and I'm a naysayer, and I feel bad about it. I hate, going against the Broncos. I've watched them for 40 years. I've always hoped that they would win every game. But until they show me that they know how to win consistently, it's hard for me to pick them to win anymore. It really is, because we've just watched them lose. I've picked so many games for them to win, and then they winnable games, they end up losing. It's going to be a close one. I say 2017. Commanders are going to take it because the Broncos haven't learned how to win yet. And it's not a snap of Sean Payton's fingers that's going to fix it. If they make the same mistakes that they were making last week, it's going to be they're going to be put in a tough spot. Now, I'm not real confident in that. I'm not real confident. I hope the Broncos can really come out and just lay waste to the Commanders. But that's my prediction. And like I said, until they can show me that they can win consistently, it's hard to pick them. And the reason why, Ron, is I went through and I looked at all of the players or starters on this team. There's only 6 of them that have had a history of games where they have a winning record from all the teams that they played for. So out of 22 players, and one of them is Russell Wilson, he's got the best record, but the rest of them, and Gregory's only 2 games above 500. Now it's 1 game after losing this last game. They haven't been able to understand what it takes. If they're always losing, that's their mentality. And I'm sorry, that's what I have to go with. And I hope I'm wrong. That's all I gotta say. I hope I'm wrong. So, and Phil's coming and saying, we understand. So thanks for understanding, Phil. Really appreciate that. RD's coming in with the prediction 24-6 Broncos. Awesome. I hope so. Oh, and Tim Watson's coming in saying that his engagement is going well to Orange Bucky. So great. Congratulations on being engaged. Didn't know that, Tim. Congratulations from all of us at Mile High Huddle. And thank you for sharing that. Yes. All right. It is at the top of the hour, Ron, and we are going to have to wrap up the show. So I just want to kind of close out by saying a couple things. We just wrap up the show a little bit. We gave you our key matchups, the big ones that we both really pass rush is huge. Establishing that running game, being tactful in their deep throws. Gave you some stat predictions. Go back and check it out. But this is going to be our show. We are going to dig in deep to the stats, to the analytics, to the film, and we're going to bring you more in-depth pregame show than you'll get just about anywhere else, because we're going to take the time to do it all week, and we're going to come at you with that stuff. Every time there's a game on Sunday, you can count on us being here for that pregame show on Saturday night. Ron, any last closing words before we call it a night?
Yeah, so again, thank you everyone for tuning in to our show this evening. You know, we appreciate all of you. And just a reminder for those who we will see at the meet and greet on October 22nd. So that is the Broncos matchup against the Green Bay Packers. Again, there will be a big blue tent, Mile High Huddle tent, and you will see Chad, Zach, all of us here, or at least most of us at the tent. And again, come and say, hey, let's do meet and greet, shake our hands, let's talk Broncos. So it's gonna be a gas, guys. But yes, enjoy the game tomorrow. I am hoping, and I think we all are hoping for a Broncos victory tomorrow. We need to get back on the right track because I think, as a few of you alluded to, the schedule gets harder, especially with the Week 3 matchup against the Dolphins. So, yeah, hopefully the Broncos will come out on the winning end tomorrow.
Yep.
And see what happens.
Orange Bucky's going to be there at the meet and greet, coming in from San Antonio. Thank you so much. I think all the podcasters are on the docket to be there. So I think if you have a favorite show or a favorite podcaster, I think we're all going to be there. So show up, say hi. We'll talk, about anything. So thank you so much for being there. Greg Smith's going to close us out saying thanks, Thomas and Ron. Great podcast tonight. So I'm just going to say, thank you, Broncos country, for being here on your Saturday night. I know it's college football. It's hard to tear yourself away from that type of stuff to come watch us, but we really appreciate it. We are going to be the definitive Broncos pregame show going forward. So thank you so much. Have a great night. And hopefully tomorrow we'll have some good news.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.